All right, so let's take a look at when we need to rationalize the denominator, but your denominator is a binomial, which means there's two terms. Now we've rationalized denominators. For example, if you had 3 over the square root of 2, we know to multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 2 so that we no longer have a radical in the denominator. So what do you do if you have more than just the square root of 2 in the denominator? Well, in our intro video, we talked about conjugates, and we are going to bring those into play here. So, to rationalize a denominator that has two terms, we are going to, let me zoom in on that. Oh, that's nice. We're going to throw parentheses around our denominator and then multiply it by its conjugate, square root of 2 minus the square root of 3. Now, if we multiply the bottom by that, we also have to multiply the top by that, square root of 2 minus the square root of 3. And let's go over again what happens when you multiply something by its conjugate. So in the intro video, we know that the outside and the inside terms cancel out, so we just have to multiply the first terms. Square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 2, and then minus, multiply the last term, square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is 3, and we get negative 1. So our denominator becomes a negative 1, and you can see that we no longer have a radical down there, which is what our goal was. Now we can go ahead and multiply the numerator. Square root of 3 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 6. Square root of 3 times a negative square root of 3 is 3. So square root of 6 minus 3. And that worked. We rationalized our denominator. Let's just go ahead and clean up our answer a little bit. This is really square root of 6 over negative 1 minus a square root of 3 over a negative, oops, not that. Not a square root of 3, just a 3 over a negative 1, or a negative square root of 6 plus 3. So we can take this answer, or you could do 3 minus the square root of 6. That has the same value. You can see that the square root of 6 is negative, and I wrote it wrong. Don't rush through this stuff like I am for some reason. So 3 minus the square root of 6. There we go. So these two are the same. I would accept either one as your answer. This is a negative square root of 6 and a negative square root of 6, a positive 3 and a positive 3. All right, so let's take a look at another example, just make sure that we have the hang of this. We have to simplify this fraction. We can see there's a radical in the denominator, so we rationalize. That means multiply the denominator, because there's two terms, by its conjugate, so we just switch the sign but keep everything the same. Multiply the top by that conjugate. When we multiply out the denominator, remember the outside and inside terms will automatically cancel, so we just multiply the first terms. Square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2, and it will be a minus, and then multiply the last terms, 2 minus 1. So we will have a 1 in our denominator. The numerator, we're going to distribute that 3, so we have 3 square roots of 2, and then 3 times a negative 1 is minus 3. And all of that divided by 2 is just 3 square root of 2 minus 3.